economic openness is of tremendous benefit. How like it is considered as something so much beneficial for countries, because when it comes to the concept of economic openness, it basically means that residents of one country can enjoy the output produced in any other country, which means that they can enjoy the products that they are that are not produced in their own country, and producers of one country can also find out the market of their products in any other country. Similarly, individuals from one country can also save in the assets of other countries and also borrow from the other nations as well. So economic openness is of tremendous benefit in this way. Like while sitting in Pakistan economy, you can buy iPhone, you can buy Japanese cars, you can buy let's say Indian tea and variety of other products, right? So it is the benefit that economic openness is providing to the consumers of Pakistan economy. Similarly, if you talk about other side of the market, that is producers, let's say cotton producers, the surgical equipment producers, the leather producer, all these producers are going to sell their output in other countries like Australia, uh, UK, USA, China. So Pakistani producers are going to sell out their output in other countries, and whenever the Pakistani individuals are going to save some amount of money, they can also save in let's say US stocks, US bonds, US bank accounts. Similarly, the governments can also borrow, like individual businesses and governments can also borrow from other nations. So this is the concept of economic openness that is key when we talk about the open economy. So we are going to talk about how international lending borrowing and international trade are connected with each other. So this is the idea of economic openness. But before I go into defining it further, there are other key like economic openness also has benefit for the economy. Like uh, in closed economy, aggregate demand must always have to be equal to the aggregate supply in order for goods market to be in equilibrium. But when you talk about an open economy, it is not necessary that in every year the aggregate production must be equal to the aggregate demand, right? Let's say if in a year the aggregate demand in a Pakistan economy is greater than the yearly production of Pakistan, so the goods market will also be in equilibrium in that scenario as well. Why? Because if the demand is greater than supply, the extra demand that the agents in a country, Pakistan, like citizens in Pakistan have got, it has to be satisfied with the imports from any other country, and the amount of money that has to be paid in for buying that import can also be borrowed from other countries. So in this way, it is not necessary that an open economy must always be in equilibrium when desired savings are equivalent to investment, or we can say that aggregate demand must always have to be equal to the aggregate supply. It's not necessary that aggregate demand or aggregate demand and aggregate supply are equal in open economy. So this is one of the benefit which is the additional feature of open economy, which was not available in a closed economy, which was a bit unrealistic, but it was the starting point of the discussion. That is why we talked about it. So now if you just try to understand in a more better way the concept of economic openness, because I have already described the definition of it, the central idea of it. But when I say that aggregate demand not must not be necessarily equal to the aggregate supply in every period. Now, if let's say a country, let's say because the book is of U.S. economy, so the example of U.S. economy was provided. But I'll try to consider Pakistan economy. Let's say in almost every year, the aggregate demand in Pakistan economy is greater than aggregate supply. Now, how will it affect the overall trade and borrowing? Now, if in every year such is the case that demand of goods and services in Pakistan economy is always greater than what they are producing domestically. So Pakistan has to import more, and for paying that import, Pakistan has to borrow some money. And when government of Pakistan is going to, or when the Pakistan is going to borrow from any other country, they have to sell some assets for borrowing from any other country. So when you borrow more, you have to sell out your assets, right, to pay for extra import. So this is something that is beneficial in sometimes, but if it becomes a permanent feature, like if in every year the demand in the economy is always greater than the supply or the production in the economy, and the difference, like, and the imports are always larger than the exports, then countries are going to stuck in a debt trap, where they are going to, where they are like, for every dollar of extra imports, you have to borrow a dollar from any other country, and against that $1, let's say, you are going to sell out your domestic assets. So if an economy, if such is the case that in every year the country has to borrow to pay for additional imports, and like for fulfilling the demand, and they have to sell out their assets, right? So this is something going to be not very much useful for the overall economy, right? So this is how economies like stuck in a debt trap when they are permanently, when they are having like a scenario where they are producing less. When a country produces less, it can export less output to other nation, and when the exports are lower than the imports, then country has to borrow more to pay for the imports. And when they have to borrow more for the imports, so either they are going to they are going to transfer more of their assets to foreigners. So against every rupee that a nations borrow from other countries, they have to sell out their own assets. So foreigners holding of assets increases, and domestic holding of foreign assets is going to decrease in such cases. So this is what we are going to look into in our chapter. So there are some, like, this is one exception that we are focusing on. But if we talk about a larger economy like China and US, uh, like uh, like they produce more than their aggregate demand and export more to the rest of the world. So this is the brief overview of the chapter. So let's get started. So this is the outline of the chapter. In this chapter, saving, investment in open economy, we'll be talking about the balance of payment accounting. Like we had a discussion on national income accounting, and we were trying to understand how a country's GDP is measured using some accounting framework in the second chapter. Here we are going to talk about balance of payment accounting. So this is a specific account dealing with the uh, country's record of international transactions, where we are going to talk about import, export, foreign international trade, and lending and borrowing. So all these will be recorded in balance of payment accounting, right? And it is a part of overall national. Okay, next to balance of payment accounting, because this is a important topic, balance of payment accounting. And after that, we have goods market equilibrium in an open economy. Earlier we had a discussion on goods market equilibrium in a closed economy. Similar, like on third will be saving, investment in a small open economy. We'll be understanding how small open economy is different than the large open economy like China, US, uh, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and other larger economies. And then we'll be focusing on fiscal policy and the current account. So this is the outline of the chapter. So let's first talk about the balance of payment accounting. So balance of payment accounting is an accounting framework which is used for recording a country's international transactions, right? So the principle that will be used for accounting various transactions taking place at among the nations or between the countries are recorded in balance of payment accounting. What kind of transactions will be recorded? Will be We earlier mentioned that international transactions related to international trade, international lending and borrowing will be recorded in balance of payment accounting. I'll be explaining it in a more detail. For now, I just described it. It's an accounting procedure that is used to record a country's international transactions. It may be in terms of goods and services, it may be in terms of assets. So the accounting principle here that we'll be following for recording transactions in balance of payment accounts uh, will be uh, will be using debit and credit, but here the idea of debit and credit is different than the idea that you have in accounting. So whenever the funds are flowing into the country, it is recorded as a credit item with a positive sign because funds are coming into the country. So when the funds are coming into the country, it will be recorded as a credit item with positive sign in balance of payment accounting. For example, Pakistan is exporting 100 million goods to rest of the world, let's say. So it will bring money into the Pakistan against the export that Pakistan sold out to other nations. Similarly, when Pakistan is going to import from China, other nations, so imports against the import, Pakistan has to pay for that. So funds are going to flow out of Pakistan. So it will be recorded as a debit item in balance of payment accounts of Pakistan. So this is the accounting procedure that we'll be following for recording international transactions in balance of payment account. So uh, if I would conclude the discussion, I would say that all the credit items are relating to the entries for which funds are flowing into the country, and all the debit items will be representing the transaction that are causing flow of funds to get out of the country. So it's different than accounting. Like in accounting, you have whenever the flow of whenever the funds are flow of the funds are coming into a company, you record it as a debit, and when the funds are flowing out of the company, you are going to record it in as a credit. But here the situation and the accounting principle that that we use in accounting international transactions is different. All right. So we have the balance of payment account. Let's talk about it in a more better way. So I am saying that we are going to record a country's international transaction in balance of payment account. So this is BOP is balance of payment. So balance of payment is equal to current account plus capital and financial account, right? So these are this is capital account. So this is current account and this is capital and financial account. CA stands for current account and KFA stands for capital and financial account. So the sum of current account and capital and financial account is equal to the balance of payment account, right? So let's first talk about the first part of the balance of payment equation. So we'll be, this is current account CA. Current account is equal to the sum of net exports plus uh, net income plus the net unilateral transfers, right? So I'll be explaining each of the component of current account. So I'm here explaining the current account. I'll be talking about NX, which is the difference between imports and exports of a country. So you need to understand that uh, we have earlier discussed a lot about it, but here we are going to talk about it in a more appropriate way, because this chapter is related to the import, export, and lending, borrowing. So let's say, uh, make it simple, that whenever the exports, whenever exports are uh, sent to any other country, let's say Pakistan is exporting cotton to China and other countries. So whatever the amount that is going to be received by Pakistan will be recorded as inflow, and it will be a credit item for recorded as a credit item in current account. Similarly, whenever Pakistan is going to import goods from any other country, it will be recorded as outflow. It will be recorded as outflow. So now you need to understand. I'll be explaining it in a more simpler way, right? Let's take an example. Let's say I earlier mentioned that, let's say, $100 cotton is being $100 cotton is, let's say, exported. $100 exports are being made from Pakistan to, let's say, any other country. Let's say I'm here taking here as China. So when exports are being, $100 cotton is being exported from Pakistan to China, so it will be recorded in current account of the net exports of Pakistan will increase by 100 $100, and it will be recorded as a credit item into current account of Pakistan, because Pakistan funds are flowing into the Pakistan. But if you talk about China, because these are the two countries involved in international transaction. So Pakistan is seller, China is buyer. So for the buyer is on the paying side, and from the China's current account, the $100 is going to be recorded as a debit, because funds are going to outflow from China to Pakistan. So this is how $100 goods are. $100 is uh, inflowing into Pakistan. All right. If we talk about $100 import of Pakistan from China, now Pakistan is buyer and China is seller. So in that transaction, current account of Pakistan will record it, like there would be against $100 import, there would be a decline in net exports of Pakistan, and that transaction will be recorded in current account, because it's a part of net export is a part of current account, and it will be recorded as a debit of $100 and in the current account of Pakistan. Similarly, this is a case for goods. If you talk about countries also import and export services, it's not limited to goods only, right? Sorry, it's not limited to goods only. Countries also export or import services, right? So when it comes to, let's say, we are saying that a Pakistani family is going for, let's say, holidays in US. So the amount of money that they spend in US is the uh, import of US tourism services for Pakistan. So it will be recorded as a credit item in Pakistani current account, and it will be recorded as a debit item in US. Sorry, it will be recorded as a because funds are against the import of service. Pakistan is on the paying side, so it will be recorded as a debit item in Pakistan's current account, and it will be recorded as a as a credit item for the US, because US is on the receiving side. Similarly, let's say a Pakistani student is enrolling himself in a master program or in a PhD program or in a bachelor's program, or you can say that a Pakistani individual is demanding education from US. So the total expenditure that he's making on acquiring a degree from US will be considered as import of services for Pakistan, and it will be recorded as a debit item into the current account of Pakistan. So whatever the amount is, it will be debited into Pakistan, because Pakistan is on the paying side. So this is how goods and services, the international transactions relating to goods and services are recorded in net export, and net exports is a part of current account. Now, if we talk about net income, now this net income is similar to the net factor payments. So net factor payments, like we said that this net income from abroad. So net income from abroad is equal, similar to the net factor payments, right? So net income from abroad is equal to labor income or the factor income, the amount of income that Pakistan receives against the labor, against the factors that are employed in other countries. So we call it factor income. The incomes of Pakistani residents working abroad. So we'll be considering it as a net factor income. Why we are taking net factor income? Because we'll be recording this net factor income in a way that net factor income is the difference between earnings that Pakistani residents are making abroad minus the earning that foreign residents are making from Pakistan. So if this net factor income is positive, if this net factor income is positive, it will be credited, it will be recorded as a credit item into the current account of Pakistan. And if this net factor income is negative, it will be recorded as a debit item into the current account of Pakistan. Why debit? Because against the if this is negative, it means that foreigners are earning more from Pakistan than what Pakistani residents are earning from the other countries, right? So this is one component of net income from abroad, but there is another component of net income from abroad which we call net investment income. Now this is different. This is the investment income. Investment income on what? Investment income on assets that Pakistani residents have, the amount of assets in the form of stocks, bonds, and other assets that they have purchased in any other country, and the amount of return that they are earning on it will be considered as a part of net investment income, minus the return that foreigners are earning from holding Pakistani assets. So the difference between two will give us a positive or negative number, and based on this positive or negative number, we will be recording. If the net investment income is positive, it means that Pakistani residents are earning more from assets that they hold abroad, and it will be recorded as, and funds are going to inflow into the Pakistan, and it will be recorded as a positive item into the current account. Wait. All right. So this is net investment income, the second component after net exports. Now we are left with net unilateral transfer. This NUT is the net unilateral transfers. It is the one-sided transfers between countries. What does that mean? Uh, Now, net unilateral transfers include two things. Uh, when a country is, let's say, Pakistan is receiving foreign aid from, let's say, China or US. So against that, because foreign aid is inflow of funds into Pakistan, so it will be recorded as a credit item into the current account of Pakistan. But here we are saying net unilateral transfer. It means that net unilateral transfers mean the aid that Pakistan is receiving minus the aid Pakistan has given to other countries. So if that is positive, it will be recorded in as a, it will be record like net unilateral transfers will be positive. So foreign aid is a unilateral transfer because like against the foreign aid, Pakistan has not like Pakistan, any amount of money that Pakistan receives from any other country will not be returned in back to that country, because aid is the amount of money that is provided by other countries to support the poor countries. So this, that is why we are saying that it's a kind of unilateral transfer. So this is the amount of money that is one sided. The receiving country is not bound to back that amount of money to the country who is providing that money. So that is why we are counting net unilateral transfers into like foreign aid is counted as a net unilateral transfers. Another thing that we count in net unilateral transfer is the gifts of money. Now what does this mean? Now gifts of money means the amount of money that uh, residents of a let's say a family living in US is sending money to their neighbors or let's say friends in Pakistan. So that amount of money is a unilateral transfer, because gifts gifts of money are considered as unilateral transfer. So because against the gift, the receiving party is not supposed to return it. So that is why gifts of money that countries receive, that residents of one country send to other, are counted into unilateral transfers, and it's a part of the current account. So I guess we are clear about the current account. Let's talk about another component of balance of payment. So let's talk about the other account, which is known as capital and financial account. Now, before 1990, these two were like different accounts, but after 1990 they are merged together, capital and financial account. Now capital, like if we summarize the current account records countries international transactions in currently produced goods and services, whereas capital and financial account records a country's international transactions uh, in terms of real and financial assets. Now, real assets are uh, property, real assets are the gold, real assets may be any other thing. Financial assets are the securities, government bonds, shares. So all these are financial assets. So capital and financial account records countries' international transactions in real and financial account. So first I'll be explaining the capital, the capital account. Now capital account is capital account records the international transactions, uh, but it counts unilateral transfer of capital account records international transactions in assets, but it counts unilateral transfer of assets. Now what does that mean? Now it includes two kinds of things. Number one, debt forgiveness. Now this is debt forgiveness. Let's say Pakistan took some amount of debt in a previous year from US, and US let's say uh, forgives the debt on Pakistan. So it's a unilateral transfer because when the debt was provided, there would be like inflow into the capital account of Pakistan. Uh, and because it is a unilateral transfer, because it is being, if it is being forgiven by the country who is giving us the debt, if it is being, because capital account includes all transactions related to debt forgiveness. So it's a kind of unilateral transfer because the receiving country is not supposed to give it back to the country who is providing the debt. So that is why it's the part of capital account. Similarly, we also count the migrants transfers of assets. So when the debt is being forgiven by the country who is providing, so it turns out to be a unilateral transfer because the receiving country is not bound to back it. Second component, which is a part of which also is a part of capital account, is migrants transfer. Migrants transfer of assets, right? What does this mean? It means that when the residents of a country are permanently moving to another country, so whatever the assets they are bringing with them to another country, are like assets are going to outflow from the country from which they are moving to any other destination, any other country, right? So let's say Pakistani residents, some Pakistani families are permanently going to settle into US. So whatever the amount of assets that they are uh, having, if they are taking with them, so it is, the assets are going to outflow from the Pakistan and inflow into the other destination country, like there where they are going. Similarly, uh, if let's say residents of a country are permanently coming into the home country, let's say पाकिस्तान में किसी और कंट्री के रेजिडेंट्स रहने के लिए आ रहे हैं, तो वो जितना एसेट्स लेके आ रहे हैं वो हमारा क्रेडिट के तौर पर रिकॉर्ड किया जाएगा, और जहां से आ रहे हैं वहां वो डेबिट. Let's go ahead. All right. So we are clear about the capital account as a part of balance of payment. Now let's talk about financial account. Now financial account records the financial transactions, like financial account records international transactions between countries relating to inflow of financial assets. Financial assets means bonds, stocks, securities, bank accounts, purchase of like we said that capital and financial account records real and uh, transactions taking place among or between countries uh, in terms of real and financial assets. So what are the examples that we are saying that financial account, oh, sorry, financial account will be uh, talking about inflow and outflow of real and financial assets. Inflow and outflow of real and financial assets. So you need to remember like inflow and outflow of real plus financial assets. Now financial asset means stocks, bonds, and real assets, property, hotels, buildings, and uh, any other thing, right? So real and financial account records international transactions between countries in which they are involved in exchanging real and financial assets. What are the examples? Suppose that a Pakistani businessman is purchasing a hotel in China. So it's because Pakistani businessman is purchasing hotel in China. So asset, like an asset is increased, foreign assets are increased, but against that increase in foreign assets, Pakistan has to pay for that hotel. Like Pakistani businessman has to pay for that. So there would be outflow of funds from Pakistan. So it will be recorded as a credit item into the financial, a debit item into the financial account of Pakistan, because Pakistani businessman has to pay for it. So it will be recorded as a credit item. Similarly, let's say Pakistani residents are, let's say, like foreign residents are selling or foreign residents are buying stocks from Pakistan exchange. So if foreign residents are investing into uh, stock exchange of Pakistan, so against that transaction, there would be inflow of funds into Pakistan. So it will be recorded as a credit item into the financial account of Pakistan. Similarly, let's say if a Pakistani resident is opening a bank account into Australia or any, let's say, a Swiss bank, so there would be an outflow of funds from Pakistan. It will be recorded as a debit item into financial account of Pakistan. And let's say a Chinese resident is opening a bank account into Pakistani bank, so it will be there would be flow of funds into Pakistan, and it will be recorded as a credit item into financial account. So are you clear about all right, so I forgot to mention two things, right? So I'll be mentioning here. So I'm going to sum it up, the capital and financial account. So we have balance of payment as a sum of current account plus capital and financial account. Now you need to keep in mind that if current account, so I was telling you the current account. So if current account balance is greater than zero, this means that it means that inflows into the country are greater than outflows. You can write it, inflows into the country, inflows are greater than the outflows from the country. So it means that credit items are greater than the debit items. That is why current account balance is greater than zero. It means that current account is in surplus. So you can call it CAS. So current account is in surplus when the current account balance is positive, which means that credit items are greater than the debit items, which means that positive inflows are greater than outflows. That is why current account is in surplus. Similarly, we talked about uh, international transactions involving real and financial assets are recorded in capital and financial account. So whenever the financial account balance is positive, it means that like whenever the financial account balance is positive, it means that credit items are greater than the debit items. Similar like interpretation, which means that uh, inflows are greater than the outflows. So I was telling you, if financial account balance is positive, what does that mean? That credit items are greater than the debit. Uh, it means that Pakistan has sold out more assets to the foreign countries compared to what foreigners have sold out to Pakistan. So against that, inflows have inflows are greater than outflows. Outflows of money, inflows are greater than outflows of money. But if you talk about the assets, outflow of assets are greater than the inflow of assets, because when a country's financial account is positive, it means that that particular country has sold out more assets in disconnected. The financial account of a country is positive, it means that inflows are larger than outflows, and in that scenario the country has sold out more assets to rest of the world than the amount of asset that the country has purchased. And if the current financial account balance is negative, it means that country has purchased more asset into other countries. And then if let's say financial account balance is negative, it means that financial account is in deficit, which means that home country has purchased more asset into other nations than what other nations have purchased into home country, and which means that like outflows are larger than the inflows. So you may see it, this we have already explained it. This was these are the part of the current account, capital and financial account. We have already talked about it. Houses, financial assets are recorded in this. We talked about, now this is the summary, like when home country sell assets to foreign country, that is capital inflow for the home country and a credit item into in the capital and financial account. When assets are purchased from a foreign country, funds are going to outflow from the home country and it is recorded as a debit item into financial account. So are we clear? The capital and financial account. Capital account specifically record unilateral transfers earlier discussed. Financial account, financial inflow is recorded as credit, like sales of Pakistani assets to foreigners. Funds are going to come into Pakistan. So that is why it is credit item into financial account. And financial outflow, purchase of assets by Pakistan from China. So funds are going to outflow from Pakistan to China. So it is, that is why it's a debit item into the financial account. Now, before I define the last, okay, let's define it, then go to table and explain it further. So this is another account, that is official settlement balance or the balance of payment account. So we call it official settlement balance or balance of payment. Now what does this, is a separate account which is in control of central banks of the countries. And central banks, this is an account in which we are going to talk about the transactions in official reserves assets are conducted by central banks of countries. Now official reserves assets are the currencies of major industrialized nations, securities of the major industrialized nations, the bonds, stocks, and the basket of currencies. All these are counted as official reserve assets, and this account is used by the central bank in every country. So official settlement reserves assets, official settlement or official settlement account is an account which is uh, used by the, or which is in control of the central bank, and central bank uh, use that account to pay for international transactions. So central bank can increase the फॉरेन, इसका सिंपल आप ये समझें कि ये जो आप सुनते रहते हैं कि हमारे पाकिस्तान में ये रिजर्व जो है इस अमाउंट से बढ़ गए, रिजर्व फॉरेन एक्सचेंज रिजर्व इतने अमाउंट से कम हो गए, तो वो जो रिजर्व अकाउंट होता है वो बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट का हिस्सा होता है। रिजर्व बढ़ने का, रिजर्व में क्या क्या चीजें आती हैं, जितने भी फॉरेन करेंसीज हैं, जितने भी हमारे ट्रेडिंग पार्टनर्स हैं, जितने भी ममालिक हमारे साथ ट्रेड करते हैं, उनकी करेंसीज, उनकी गवर्नमेंट की सिक्योरिटीज, उनके कंट्रीज, हमारे जितने बैंक अकाउंट्स हैं और गोल्ड वगैरह, इस तरह की चीजें रिजर्व एसेट्स में काउंट होती हैं। ये रिजर्व एसेट्स जो हैं इंपोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट या फिर दूसरी जो इंटरनेशनल ट्रांजेक्शन्स सेंट्रल बैंक्स कर रही होती हैं, उनको जो है उनके लिए ये यूजफुल होता है। और सेंट्रल बैंक जो है अपने रिजर्व एसेट्स जो है बाय करके बढ़ा भी सकती है और सेल करके कम भी कर सकती है। तो वो सेंट्रल बैंक के कंट्रोल में ये ऑफिशियल रिजर्व अकाउंट या बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट अकाउंट जिसको कह सकते हैं, ये यूज करती हैं। यहाँ पे क्लियरली लिखा है ऑफिशियल सेटलमेंट बैलेंस को हम क्या कह सकते हैं, बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट। इसका मतलब क्या है, इट इक्वल्स टू द नेट इंक्रीज इन कंट्रीज ऑफिशियल रिजर्व एसेट्स। एक कंट्री ने एक साल में कितने इजाफी करेंसीज, कितने इजाफी गवर्नमेंट के सिक्योरिटीज दूसरी कंट्रीज के, और बाकी सारे जितने भी रिजर्व एसेट्स हैं वो कितने इंक्रीज किए कंपेयर टू बाकी नेशंस ने कितने होम कंट्री के जो है रिजर्व एसेट्स परचेज किए। अब पाकिस्तान के लिए चाइनीज आरएमबी, इंडियन रुपी, जापानीज युआन, यूएस डॉलर, ब्रिटिश पाउंड, ये सारे फॉरेन एक्सचेंज रिजर्व्स हैं, क्योंकि ये सारी करेंसीज पाकिस्तान की सेंट्रल बैंक को इंटरनेशनल ट्रांजैक्शंस कंडक्ट करने में मदद देती हैं। सो दैट इज व्हाई ये अगर कम पड़ जाएं तो हमारे जो ऑफिशियल रिजर्व एसेट्स हैं, जो आप सुनते रहते हैं टीवी के कि पाकिस्तान का जो रिजर्व्स हैं बहुत ज्यादा कम हो गए हैं, जिसके मतलब है कि हमारे पास अपने इंपोर्ट्स को पे करने के लिए पैसा ही नहीं है, तो हमें बारो करना पड़ेगा। ये जो आप टीवी पे सुनते हैं, इस तरह की चीजें, रिजर्व जो हैं इस तरह के एसेट्स होते हैं। फाइनेंशियल एसेट्स हो, फाइनेंशियल एसेट का मतलब है अपने मुल्क के अलावा, अपने होम कंट्री की करेंसी के अलावा बाकी जितने भी ट्रेडिंग पार्टनर्स हैं उनकी करेंसी हो, उनकी गवर्नमेंट के बॉन्ड्स हो, सिक्योरिटीज हो, बैंक अकाउंट्स हो, ये सारे एसेट्स जो हैं रिजर्व में काउंट होते हैं, और ऑफिशियल सेटलमेंट को हम बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट भी कहते हैं। अब ये जो कह रहा है कि एक साल में जितने पाकिस्तान ने यूएस डॉलर जो है, अगर पाकिस्तान ने ज्यादा मतलब यूएस डॉलर जो है या बाकी सारी जितनी भी इंपॉर्टेंट करेंसीज हैं, पाकिस्तान ने इस साल में ज्यादा परचेज की कंपेयर टू फॉरेन कंट्रीज ने जितना पाकिस्तानी रुपया परचेज किया, तो बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट सरप्लस में होगा और हमारे जो रिजर्व्स हैं वो ज्यादा होंगे। और जब हम ऑफिशियल रिजर्व हमारे ज्यादा हो जाते हैं, हम मतलब जिस तरह यहाँ एक किताब ने कहा है कि एक जो यूएस है उसने लेट्स से यूएस के जो रिजर्व एसेट्स हैं वो ये 2010 की एडिशन है, तो 2010 में जितने यूएस ने जो है मतलब डॉलर के अलावा जितनी भी करेंसीज या फॉरेन जो बैंक के अकाउंट्स हैं या गवर्नमेंट की सिक्योरिटीज हैं, यूएस की डॉलर को ज्यादा कंट्रीज ने डिमांड किया कंपेयर टू यूएस ने जितना फॉरेन करेंसीज को परचेज किया। तो इसका मतलब है यूएस का जो ऑफिशियल सेटलमेंट रिजर्व है वो उस साल में डेफिसिट में था, या बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट जो है वो डेफिसिट में था। अब यहां से देखेंगे क्या कह रहा है कि हैविंग अ बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट सरप्लस मींस अ कंट्री इज इंक्रीजिंग इट्स ऑफिशियल रिजर्व एसेट्स, which means country is involved in purchasing more of reserve assets. A balance of payment deficit is reduction in official reserve assets. So this is the overall account that you generally hear in news, that Pakistani reserves have declined and we are facing a balance of payment crisis. So this is the idea behind that concept. So if you go back to the table which was in the beginning of our chapter. So this is the detail of accounts. Now we have the basic idea about all these balance of payment account, current account, and capital and financial account. Now we can understand it in a more appropriate way. So before I explain it, okay, I was explaining after understanding the basic idea of balance of payment. Now we are going to analyze these numbers, like how the entries are recorded in entries of international transactions relating to goods and services are recorded in current account, and international transactions relating to real and financial assets are recorded into capital and financial account. So here you can see the table, current account, first in current account, net exports of goods and services. So we have exports and imports. exports of goods and services. Uh, we know that exports are going to bring money into the country, so there would be an inflow of the funds. So here goods 1497.4 billion are credit items. Services exchange for money to other nation is 607.7 billion. So exports in total are positive. But if you talk about imports, against the import for the US economy, uh, for the import, US has to pay to other nations, so goods imports are negative, and it's a debit item. And services are also negative, which means it's a debit item. So if you just take the difference between export and import, these two values, you would find that imports are larger, 2600. मैं आपको ये बता रहा हूँ कि नेट एक्सपोर्ट्स ऑफ गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज में आप यहाँ पे क्लियरली, यहाँ पे जो ये फाइनल नंबर है, ये जितने भी बोल्ड नंबर्स हैं, ये फाइनल वैल्यू है। ठीक है, तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल करंट अकाउंट में हमारे पास नेट एक्सपोर्ट्स हैं। नेट एक्सपोर्ट्स में एक्सपोर्ट्स ऑफ गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज हैं, और एक्सपोर्ट्स के अगेंस्ट कंट्रीज में फंड्स का इनफ्लो हो रहा होता है। तो आप गुड्स की एक्सपोर्ट देखें, वो भी पॉजिटिव है, 1497.4 बिलियन। सर्विसेज की एक्सपोर्ट फॉर द यूएस इकोनॉमी, वो भी पॉजिटिव है, क्योंकि यूएस रिसीव कर रहा था, और ये क्रेडिट आइटम्स हैं। imports of goods and services, you can see that against the import, US has to pay, so the funds are going to get outflow from the US. So this is a negative number for goods and negative number for the which means that these two are debited into the current account because it is against the import. So in total, imports are of larger imports in 2011 for the US economy are larger than the export. So if you just take the difference, net export would turn out to be negative. It means that US trade was in deficit in 2011. तो हम आ जाते हैं ये दूसरा सेकंड कंपोनेंट, नेट इनकम फ्रॉम अब्रॉड. So income receipts from abroad positive 738.7 million. It means that income that US residents earned in 2011 from other countries is 738.7 billion. Income payments to residents of other countries. Income that is paid by US to workers working in US but belonging to other countries is a debit item, because US has to pay for that, and it's a negative number, 517.7 billion. So the income receipts for the US are larger than the income paid against the factors labor working in the US but belonging to other nation. तो ये ओवरऑल जो नंबर है वो पॉजिटिव आ रहा है, जिसका मतलब है कि नेट फैक्टर इनकम जो है वो यूएस में यूएस के वर्कर्स ने दुनिया से ज्यादा कमाया कंपेयर टू जो दुनिया के वर्कर्स यूएस में काम कर रहे थे उस पर्टिकुलर ईयर में. तीसरा है नेट यूनिलेटरल ट्रांसफर्स. अब ये नेगेटिव नंबर है, इसका मतलब है यूएस ने जो है ओवरऑल यूएस डोनर है, यूएस ने किसी को फॉरेन एड दी है 134.6 बिलियन की, इस वजह से ये नेगेटिव नंबर है और डेबिट आइटम है करंट अकाउंट में. अब ये जो तीन नंबर्स हैं, इन तीनों को सम करेंगे तो हमारे पास जो है मतलब इनमें ये देखें, ये 560 बिलियन भी नेगेटिव है, 134 भी नेगेटिव है, ये 221 स्मॉलर है. तो इन तीनों को सम करेंगे तो आपके पास करंट अकाउंट बैलेंस आ जाएगा, ये जो 473.4 बिलियन है. तो करंट अकाउंट जो है डेफिसिट था 2011 में यूएस इकोनॉमी का. Similarly, capital or financial account, if you talk about another part of balance of payment, like another account, capital and financial account, where we talk about international transactions in real and financial assets. So here you can see that net capital account transactions are recorded as a negative item, which means that US capital account in 2011 was negative because there was outflow of funds or outflow of assets from US to other economies. So so if you talk about financial account, so net financial inflows, increase in US owned assets abroad. The amount of assets US purchased abroad are like for purchasing those assets US, there was an outflow of funds from US to other economies. So this number is negative. It means that it's a debit item. But if you just look here, uh, you would find that increase in foreign owned assets in US. So how much of the assets were purchased by foreigners in US economy? So against that, there was a financial inflow of funds into US economy. So the number here 783.7 is positive. So if you just talk about financial account seems to be in surplus, but we generally read it as capital and financial account. So capital account is negative, but financial account is positive by this value, right? So it means that financial account overall was in surplus into 2011. But if you just note one thing, we said that uh, US owned little assets compared to what foreigners own in US economy. It means that there was more financial inflow of funds into US economy. uh, so that is why this is positive. Similarly, we talked about the official settlement reserve. So if you just look at here, US official reserve assets, which means that the amount of foreign currencies, bank accounts, securities that US central bank uh, owned were equivalent to 15.9 billion. But how much of the reserve assets were owned by foreign banks, like how much of the dollars were purchased by other countries central banks, you can see that number is far larger, 618.9. It means that in 2011 the US balance of payment was in deficit because US owned little assets. US central bank owned little, uh, like smaller amount of reserve assets of other economies, but US dollar was owned by rest of the world in a larger amount. So this represents the official settlement reserves, right? So this is the idea of how current and capital account are recorded using uh, the accounting framework. So let's go ahead. So we have now basic idea of the current, the components of balance of payment. Now we'll understand the relationship. What is the relationship between the current and capital, current account and capital and financial account? So we'll be trying to explain it with some examples, like what does this what kind of relation they have with each other. Now we are talking about the relationship between current account and capital and financial account, right? So we are talking about relationship. It means that theoretically it has been assumed that current account and capital and financial account current account and capital and financial account, the sum of current account and capital and financial account always turns out to be zero. So this is a theoretical possibility, which means that you can rewrite it as the current account is equal to minus capital and financial account. Now what does this mean? It means that if 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 there's a current account surplus, so it would be offsetted by the current account capital and financial account deficit. So if there's a current account deficit, there would be a capital and financial account surplus. Or you can say that if current account, the sum of current account and capital and financial account would always sum to zero when current account is positive with any value. There would be a negative value in the capital and financial account. Let's say if this is 10, this must be, if this is positive 10, current account is positive 10, then capital and financial account must be negative 10 in order for having the value of 0. So the sum of current and capital and financial account must always be equal to zero. This is a theoretical condition. Now, this is a mathematical explanation of this idea. What do we mean by this in economics? So to understand this, we need to understand, we need to explain it here. So now you have basic idea that every transaction involves two countries. Let's say, for the simplest case, we are assuming that there are two countries. So when the current account is in surplus, the capital and financial account will be in deficit. And when because every transaction involves exchange of goods and services and or exchange of assets between countries. So exchange of asset is recorded in capital and financial account, and exchange of goods is recorded in current account. So what is the main idea? What is the main theme of this? Why this identity must always hold? Why this idea always hold? Let's explain it here. So to understand this relationship, we need to take some cases. Uh, Case one, we can take case one as we are assuming that Pakistan, a Pakistani resident is buying. Oh, oh, a Pakistani resident is, let's say, purchasing, let's say, an iPhone, right? Let's say, or any other product. For your simplicity, we are saying that Pakistan resident is buying a car, let's say a Japanese produced car. So how this transaction will affect the Pakistani current account and capital account relationship. So let's say the price of the car was, let's say, $1,000, right? So if the price of the car was, let's say, $1,000, or in so the Pakistani is buying that car. So it's an import for Pakistan. So imports, whenever the imports are going to increase, the net exports are going to fall. So net exports of the Pakistan are going to fall, or you can alternatively say that by the value of $1,000, current account is going to fall, keeping everything else same, right? So this $1,000 that Japanese car seller earned by selling it to Pakistan, if that Japanese seller uses this $1,000 to buy $1,000 Pakistani export. So if that Japanese seller, let's say, uses that $1,000 to buy some machine from Pakistan, let's say $1,000 machine from Pakistan, so it would be an export from Pakistan. So so the current account of Pakistan that initially declined by 1,000 because of import of a car from Japan will now be offsetted with export of 1,000, which is going to be positive for Pakistan. So net change there would be like $1,000 positive. Like you can write it here like $1,000 was negative earlier because of the import, and $1,000 positive because Japanese seller used that 1,000. Net result is zero. So this remains unchanged, but because of change in current account, the overall result is 0. ठीक है जी, तो आप इसको कहेंगे कि क्योंकि करंट अकाउंट में ही सिर्फ चेंज आया, तो कैपिटल अकाउंट में चेंज नहीं आया, तो ओवरऑल जो है नेट रिजल्ट 0 आ गया. सो दिस इज वन वे ऑफ फर्स्ट केस. दूसरा केस क्या है कि ये जो जैपनीज सेलर है, ये $1000 जो है वो पाकिस्तान से कोई प्रोडक्ट नहीं बाय करता, ये पाकिस्तानी स्टॉक मार्केट से कोई एसेट बाय करता है, या पाकिस्तान से कोई एसेट बाय करता है $1000 के. तो पाकिस्तान में क्या होगा, पाकिस्तान के एसेट जब इसने बाय किए तो पाकिस्तान में ये इनफ्लो होगा फंड्स का, और जब पाकिस्तान में इनफ्लो होगा तो हमारा कैपिटल एंड फाइनेंशियल अकाउंट जो है वो 1000 से बढ़ जाएगा. और जो पे जा रहे हैं, थैंक यू. अब जब हम दूसरे केस में जा रहे हैं विच इज केस टू में हम ये कह रहे हैं कि फर्स्ट ट्रांजैक्शन वही रहने दें कि पाकिस्तान ने इंपोर्ट किए थे, कार इंपोर्ट की थी पाकिस्तानी रेजिडेंट ने $1000 की जापान से, और जापानीज जो सेलर था उसने $1000 के पाकिस्तान से एसेट परचेज किए. अब एसेट जो है पाकिस्तान से परचेज किए, तो पाकिस्तान में पैसा इनफ्लो होगा $1000 का. तो आप ये कह सकते हैं कि करंट अकाउंट जो है $1000 से नेगेटिव, और कैपिटल और फाइनेंशियल अकाउंट $1000 से पॉजिटिव हुआ, तो सम जो है दूसरे केस में भी 0 आ गया. तो दिस कंडीशन अगेन होल्ड्स इन दैट सिनेरियो एज वेल. ठीक है जी. तीसरा जो सिनेरियो है वो ये है कि अब ये जो जापानीज सेलर है जो जिसने पाकिस्तान को कार सेल की, वो $1000 जो है जापानीज बैंक में जमा करवा देता है. तो ये अपने बैंक में $1000 जमा कर देता है, और वो जो बैंक है वो पाकिस्तानी बैंक को $1000 के अगे मतलब 1000 जो है वापस कर रही है. हम सपोज करते हैं कि हमारी करेंसी जो है वो डॉलर में, अक्सर ट्रेड डॉलर में होती है, इसीलिए मैं डॉलर को लेके चल रहा हूँ ताकि ज़रा रियलिस्टिक एग्जांपल हो. लेकिन अब जब जापानीज सेलर जिसने $1000 अर्न किए पाकिस्तान को एक प्रोडक्ट सेल करके, वो अपने मुल्क की बैंक में जमा कर रहा है, और वो बैंक फिर जो है पाकिस्तान के बैंक को मतलब सेंट्रल बैंक को वापस दे रहा है $1000, और पाकिस्तानी सेंट्रल बैंक से युआन जो है वो वापस ले रहा है, अपनी करेंसी वापस ले रहा है. जिसका मतलब है कि जब मतलब पाकिस्तान को डॉलर दे के पाकिस्तान से युआन ले रहा है जो जापानीज करेंसी है, तो पाकिस्तान के $1000 से रिजर्व कम हो जाएंगे, लेकिन पाकिस्तान के पास डॉलर जाएगा, जिसका मतलब है पाकिस्तान में 1000 से फाइनेंशियल इनफ्लो होगा. ठीक है. तो करंट अकाउंट हमारा वही $1000 से नेगेटिव, लेकिन जब पाकिस्तान ने युआन वापस किए जापानीज बैंक को, ये जापान की बैंक को वापस किए, और पाकिस्तान को बदले में क्या मिला, पाकिस्तान को रुपए लेट से वापस किए, क्योंकि तो रुपए जो है पाकिस्तान के लिए रिजर्व नहीं है. $1000 के अगेंस्ट जापानीज बैंक ने रुपए वापस किए, और डिमांड क्या की कि $1000 के इक्विवेलेंट जो युआन है वो वापस करें. एक्सचेंज ये बैंक्स के दरमियान हुई, तो जो युआन है वो पाकिस्तान के लिए रिजर्व थे, और जो जब युआन जो है पाकिस्तान से चले गए, तो पाकिस्तान में आया क्या, पाकिस्तान में रुपए आए, पाकिस्तान में रुपयों का इनफ्लो हुआ, तो वो इनफ्लो यहाँ फाइनेंशियल अकाउंट, कैपिटल और फाइनेंशियल अकाउंट में पॉजिटिवली रिकॉर्ड किया जाएगा, और करंट अकाउंट हमारा उसी वैल्यू से नेगेटिव था, तो नेट सम जो है फिर भी इनका 0 ही आएगा. तो इस तरह का इन दो करंट अकाउंट और कैपिटल अकाउंट दोनों में रिलेशनशिप है. तो जरा बताएं कि क्लियर हो. तो ये रिलेशनशिप है इनका, करंट अकाउंट और कैपिटल और फाइनेंशियल अकाउंट का. अब इस बात को जरा हम समअप कर लेते हैं कि ये आइडेंटिटी जो है ये सिर्फ थ्योरेटिकली होल्ड करती है, प्रैक्टिकली होल्ड नहीं करती. प्रैक्टिकली बहुत सारे इश्यूज होते हैं कंट्रीज में, इनकम पूरी तरह से जो दो का आपस में जो ट्रांजैक्शन हो रही है वो अगर प्रॉपरली रिपोर्ट नहीं हो रही किसी मतलब इंपोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट हो रही है तो वो स्मगलिंग के थ्रू हो रही है, और बहुत सारे और इश्यूज हैं। तो वो क्योंकि ऑफिशियल अकाउंट्स में रिकॉर्ड नहीं की जाती, तो उसकी वजह से इनमें डिफरेंस आता है। जो हमने इंपोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट किया, क्योंकि वो पूरी तरह मतलब मेजरमेंट का एरर हो, इन दोनों की मेजर करंट अकाउंट और कैपिटल अकाउंट का मेजरमेंट यूनिट में कोई फर्क आएगा, तब इनमें फर्क आएगा, तब ये सम इनका जीरो नहीं आएगा। और या कोई और इश्यूज हैं, इनकम मिस रिपोर्ट की हुई है, या इंपोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट जो है वो पूरी सही तरह से रिपोर्ट नहीं किए गए, रिकॉर्ड नहीं किए गए, तब भी ये इक्वल नहीं आएंगे। जब ये इक्वल नहीं आएंगे तो इनका जो इनमें जो डिफरेंस आ रहा होगा उसको हम कहते हैं स्टेटिस्टिकल डिस्क्रिपेंसी। और स्टेटिस्टिकल डिस्क्रिपेंसी आपको पता है कि वो नंबर होगा जो यहाँ पे ऐड करेंगे, जिससे हम इसको जीरो करेंगे। सपोज करें, सपोज करते हैं कि किसी ईयर में हम जरा इसको बोर्ड पे शो करते हैं ताकि आसानी हो जाए। So what we are saying that in a year, let's say, all right. So in a year, let's say current account plus capital and financial account is equal to zero. Now let's say in any year this is positive, let's say 100, and this is let's say negative 90, right? So we will be left with 10, right? So how we'll make it like statistical discrepancy हम इसमें ऐड करेंगे ताकि ये जो है जीरो के इक्वल हो जाए। तो क्या करेंगे, we'll add 10 into this number, so this would be plus 100। और कैपिटल और फाइनेंशियल अकाउंट में हम जरा 10 ऐड करेंगे, मतलब ओवरऑल ये माइनस ही है, तो ये माइनस के 100 और प्लस के 100, फिर जो सम आएगा हमारे पास वो जीरो आएगा। तो स्टेटिस्टिकल डिस्क्रिपेंसी इस तरह से इनको एडजस्ट करने में यूज होती है। सिमिलरली अगर ये ऐसा रिवर्स होता, ये 90 होता माइनस का और ये प्लस 100 आना था, तो हम यहाँ 10 ऐड करते करंट अकाउंट में और फिर इसको जीरो कर लेते। तो इस वजह से ये प्रैक्टिकली ये कभी भी जीरो नहीं आता, ये थ्योरेटिकली। इस वजह से शुरू से हम कह रहे थे, from the very beginning we were saying that this relationship between these two, where we are saying that sum of current account and capital and financial account must always be equal to zero, this is theoretical. So practically there's a difference between these two because of measurement issues, because of misreporting of the data and other kinds of error. So statistical discrepancy is added to make it to satisfy the balance of payment equation. These are this is a table again representing the same cases, so you need to look at it by yourself. It is available in your book. I'm just going ahead. ये clear हो गया. Now let's talk about foreign assets. Now this is something very important. Foreign assets and the balance of payment account. Not now. What does this? What do we mean by net foreign assets? Net foreign assets are net foreign asset is the difference between amount of assets that home country owns in other countries minus the amount of asset foreign countries are owning in the home country. So if the net foreign assets are positive, it means that home country owns more asset into other nations. And if net foreign assets are negative, it means that foreigners have more ownership of assets in home country compared to what home country owns in other countries. And you know that net foreign assets uh, are the part of a nation's wealth. So larger a country having more of assets more ownership of assets in any other nation, it means that relatively that nation is considered to be wealthier, and a country having lesser overall net foreign assets compared to other nations will be considered relatively less wealthier. So there are two possible ways with which a country can increase its net foreign assets. Number one, if the country starts purchasing new foreign assets, the overall net foreign assets will increase. And when you know that when a country starts purchasing new foreign assets, it has to pay for those assets. So there would be outflow of funds from the country, and like overall assets are increasing, but capital and financial account will be decreasing whenever the country is purchasing extra assets in other nation. And when the country is able to purchase new asset in other countries, when the home country is producing more output than the domestic demand, so that country will be able to sell extra output to other nations and earn some dollars and earn some other amount of currencies, so that that amount of money will be used to buy assets in other nation and ultimately increase the stock of net foreign assets. So are you getting it? Similarly, this is one way, like if a country is involved in purchasing new foreign assets, overall net foreign assets will increase. Another way net foreign assets may change, uh, net foreign asset may decrease because the value of already existing asset is going to fall, or the debt country has started borrowing from other countries. So when a country starts borrowing larger and larger amount from other nations, so other nations are going to take assets from the home country. So that is why we are saying that when liabilities are increasing on the home country, net foreign assets are going to fall. Liabilities are what? Liabilities are the assets owned in domestic economy by the foreigners. So this is these are liabilities. So if I would go back to the whiteboard, right, to just to show you. So I'm saying that net foreign assets बढ़ चुके हैं. So net foreign assets and balance of payments are related in such a way that net increase in foreign assets equal to current account surplus. So whenever a country has current account surplus, then the country is able to acquire new foreign assets and its net foreign assets will increase. Similarly, a current account surplus implies a capital and financial account deficit, because if a country has current account surplus, it means that that country has more exported more than it has imported, and the extra money that the country earned that was used for buying foreign assets. So for whenever a country buys foreign assets, there would be an outflow, and the capital and financial account would be in deficit. That is why we are saying that uh, a current account surplus is equivalent to saying that capital and financial account is deficit, because there would be an financial outflow. उसी तरह से अगर करंट अकाउंट डेफिसिट है, जिसका मतलब है कि इंपोर्ट ज्यादा है एक्सपोर्ट से, तो एक्स्ट्रा जो आपने इंपोर्ट किया है उसको पे करने के लिए आपको अपने मुल्क के एसेट सेल करने पड़ेंगे, तभी आपके पास एक्स्ट्रा डॉलर आएगा या दूसरी करेंसी आएगी, तभी आप उन एक्सपोर्ट इंपोर्ट के लिए पे कर सकेंगे. तो उसके अगेंस्ट मतलब करंट अकाउंट डेफिसिट है तो कैपिटल और फाइनेंशियल अकाउंट सरप्लस होगा. ये रिलेशनशिप है जिसके ऊपर हमारी बात हो रही थी. अच्छा, अब एक तरीका जिससे कंट्रीज दूसरे ममालिक से बारो करते हैं वो ये है कि फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट की जाए। फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट की मिसाल क्या है कि जापानीज लेट्स से होंडा की कार मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, जो होंडा ने अपना एक फ्रेंचाइज जो है या प्रोडक्शन प्लांट जो है वो पाकिस्तान में लगाया, तो इसका मतलब है जापान ने फॉरेन डायरेक्ट मतलब जापान ने क्या किया है, पाकिस्तान में कैपिटल बिल्ड किया है। तो पाकिस्तान मतलब पाकिस्तान में पाकिस्तान के फॉरेन ऑन एसेट क्या हो गए, बढ़ गए, ठीक है, क्योंकि प्रोडक्शन जो असेंबली है वो पाकिस्तान में लगाई है। इस तरह की इन्वेस्टमेंट को जो दूसरा कंट्री कर रहा हो हमारे मुल्क में नया कैपिटल बिल्ड करने पे, उसको हम फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट कहते हैं। और ये एक फॉर्म टाइप है, फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट इज अ टाइप ऑफ बोरोइंग फ्रॉम अदर कंट्रीज, ठीक है। तो कुछ लोगों के दिमाग में ये भी आ रहा होगा कि सी पैक क्या है। सी पैक एक ज्वाइंट वेंचर है जिसमें पाकिस्तान का भी शेयर है, लेकिन जितना चाइना ने यहाँ पे कैपिटल पे, रोड पे, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी पे इन्वेस्ट किया है, वो चाइना की फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट है पाकिस्तान में। ये चाइना ने पाकिस्तान को बोरो किया है, मतलब चाइना ने पाकिस्तान को पैसा दिया है, ठीक है जी। तो फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट जब दूसरा कंट्री कर रहा होता है तो आपकी इकोनॉमी में पैसा इनफ्लो हो रहा होता है, तो उस इनफ्लो के अगेंस्ट जो आपका कैपिटल और फाइनेंशियल अकाउंट है वो आ, बढ़ जाता है, पॉजिटिव हो जाता है, ठीक है। दूसरी टाइप जो है बोरोइंग की या बोरोइंग और लेंडिंग की, कि सो दूसरा सेकंड टाइप है इन्वेस्टमेंट का जिसको हम कहते हैं पोर्टफोलियो इन्वेस्टमेंट। पोर्टफोलियो का मतलब है कि अब ये स्टॉक्स, बॉन्ड्स और सिक्योरिटीज के फॉर्म में इन्वेस्टमेंट है। जब फॉरेनर लेट्स से पाकिस्तानी रेजिडेंट्स जो है यूएस में, यूएस की स्टॉक मार्केट से स्टॉक परचेज कर रहे हैं, तो अब ये पोर्टफोलियो इन्वेस्टमेंट तब होती है, ये तब लोग कर रहे होते हैं जब उनके पास एक्स्ट्रा पैसा हो। वो एक्स्ट्रा पैसा होगा तो वो किसी और कंट्री की स्टॉक मार्केट में या बॉन्ड मार्केट में बॉन्ड परचेज करते हैं। तो वो क्या कर रहे हैं, दे आर लेंडिंग आउट मनी टू अदर नेशंस, ठीक है। तो हमारे हमारे फिर इस पोर्टफोलियो इन्वेस्टमेंट से होम कंट्री के क्या होगा, नेट फॉरेन एसेट इंक्रीज हो जाएंगे, लेकिन ओवरऑल क्या हो रहा होगा, जब हम परचेज कर रहे हैं तो फाइनेंशियल आउटफ्लो हो रहा होगा हमारे कंट्री से किसी और कंट्री, जिस कंट्री से हम बॉन्ड, स्टॉक या शेयर्स परचेज कर रहे हैं उनकी कंपनीज के, उनके यहाँ पैसा जा रहा है, उनके यहाँ इन्वेस्टमेंट जा रही है, हमारे यहाँ एक्विजिशन ऑफ एसेट्स बढ़ रही है। तो ये इस तरह से ये भी एक बोरोइंग और लेंडिंग का तरीका है कि जिस कंट्री के आप बॉन्ड्स बाय कर रहे हैं उस कंट्री को आप पैसा लेंड कर रहे हैं, वो बोरोअर है दूसरा कंट्री। और इससे भी मतलब जिस कंट्री के आपने एसेट बाय करिए किए, उससे भी आपका मतलब पाकिस्तानी रेजिडेंट्स ने यूएस की या चाइना की या किसी और कंट्री के स्टॉक मार्केट से एसेट्स बाय किए, तो पाकिस्तान का कैपिटल और फाइनेंशियल अकाउंट डिक्रीज होगा क्योंकि आउटफ्लो हो रहा है, ठीक है। सो दिस इज हाउ, यहाँ पे हम जरा एंड करते हैं। कोई जबरदस्ती नहीं है कि हम